development of the, we can say, educators, okay? So, this is the Portuguese educative system. Like in many countries, we have a split system. The nurseries are under the supervision of the Ministry of Labor and Solidarity, and we have around 50% of coverage rate. It's not a very low coverage rate when we have this compared with other countries, but to us it's very low because we have a problem, because many families, we have around 125,000 children who cannot access to a nursery school or nursery. From these 120,000, 25,000, there is 9,000 who cannot access to or are under a situation under risk or the poverty, and they need a lot of this kind of response. In kindergartens, it's quite different. In the preschool education, from 3 to 6 years old, it's quite different because we have a coverage rate around 98%. It's non-compulsory, and it's a huge number because non-compulsory means the families understand the importance of early childhood education for their children. So it's a very high rate in Portugal. In Portugal, the public schools are always working like a cluster. It's a school cluster. I think there is similar situations in other countries, but in Portugal, all the public schools, including the kindergartens, are involved, are part of this school cluster. The school cluster had one principal, one director. I was a director from one of these schools, this one in particular in Portel. There is one pedagogical council, one educational project, and we are, this kind of classes are deeply connected with the municipality, because the municipality it's the responsible for everything except for the salaries of teachers, because the salary of teachers are paying by the Ministry of Education. So, eu ia pedir... okay, sorry. But the thing it's most distinctive when we compare Portugal to other countries is the initial training of the educators. Because I think the only country who have a similar situation with Portugal, it's Iceland. Because in Portugal, all the kindergarten teachers, doesn't matter, all the educators, doesn't matter if they work in the nursery schools or they work in the kindergarten centers, in preschool, they need to have a master's degree. So it's a very high qualification to start. We have another problem, because I'm not going to talk about this, is the quality of the initial training, because we have a split system, not integrate the training at university, but it's other problem. But to us, to API works, it's very, very important, because everything we've done, it's addressed to high qualified teachers. So, what is API? It's not very common. As far as I know, there is no similar situations in other countries. The most we can compare like a trade union, but the trade unions also work in the labor questions about salaries and careers and so on. And the professional associations in Portugal only are connected to the professional development of their memberships and in general the teachers in general. Usually the professional associations are connected, are linked to a knowledge area and to teaching, okay? Like the associations of math teachers, the association of English teachers, and so on. And of course, API, it's the association for the kindergartens or for the educators, since the work with children under 6 years old. So we are funded in 1981, many years ago, 42 years ago. We are a non-profit organization with the status of public utility, and it's very important because a non-profit organization define the way we need to work with our memberships and the service we can provide to the community, the professional community. And we are why representativeness among the educators? Because there is, Portugal is a small country. We have around 16,000 educators in the country, and we have around 5,000 memberships. So more or less 1 under 3 educators are APA members. So it's very important for us, and they are, the kindergarten teachers, the educators, recognize the APA like a reference for the professional class identity. And of course, we are by far the largest professional association in Portugal, because the other associations are much more smaller. So let me, a small break here to talk a little bit about Mintzberg. I suppose most of you never heard about Mintzberg, because Mintzberg is not connected to the early childhood education. But Mintzberg, it's important because I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that, because Mintzberg define a specific kind of organizations. It's a professional organization. That's why the reason I'm talking a little bit about Mintzberg. Mintzberg, it's very famous. It's a very important person in the management and in the leadership. It's a Canadian researcher. It's public. He published many books, many important books in management, and I'm connected to management because my life, as Chris said, it's like a movement between be a kindergarten teacher and be like something similar with a CEO. So I work at the beginning 3 years as a kindergarten teacher, and then 9 years in the regional board of Ministry of Education, then more 6 years as a kindergarten teacher, and more 10 years as a director, and so on. It's like this movement is important, but that's why I love this area about management and leadership. But you can say the central idea maybe in the 80s, it was a real break at that time. It's because at that time, the management was understood like something linear. We're planning and we execute what we're planning. And of course, the society, not now it's in constant transformation, but at that time, even at that time, it's not like this. And Mintzberg said, no, everything we do in leadership, it's many times it's something plastic, adaptive, because everything it's uncertain, everything is changing, so we need to adapt our decisions to the context, and the context are always changing. But Mintzberg introduced a concept very interesting. It's the concept about the organizational configurations. And they describe in these organizations 5 different elements all the organizations have. One is the top of the organization, the CEO, where the decisions are taken. On the bottom, we have the core. Imagine a teaching or a factory, because this should apply to all the organizations. And he creates a model. And one of these type of organizations, he identifies 7 main configurations, 7 kinds of, imagine schools, factories, army, or religious institution, and so on. But one of them, it was the professional associations. And it's interesting because, there is the top of the organization, there is the bottom, where the core of the business, you can say, the teachers are here, there is the director, imagine, this is the staff, and here there is a kind of a number of elements who supervise the work of the, in this case it's like a factory, the workers on the factory. Imagine you have assemble a car factory and you need to assemble cars. So in these kind of organizations, they called machine organizations. The bureaucracy, it's, I'm going to talk about that. It's connected to the theory of Mintzberg. But when we assemble cars, everything is predefined. We need to put imagine the wheels or the headlights. or the roof, everything is predefined. And we know we only must take, imagine, 5 minutes to do it, and we need to do it like this, and the final result must be exactly like this. So everything is predefined. That's why the supervisors, it's very important in this kind of organizations, because they need to know, they need to assure everyone do the job the way are planning. But in the professional bureaucracy, in the professional organizations, it's quite different. And Mintzberg defined this kind of professional organizations. The examples, it's schools or the hospitals. And it's quite different. Because it's different because several reasons. The first one is these kind of organizations are composed only for high qualified professionals, only. These qualifications, it's acquired before the persons entering the organization. In the factory, no. They can admit the person, then they train inside the organization. But to be a teacher or to be a doctor, for instance, in a hospital, we need to have previously the graduation, and then when we have the graduation, we can be a teacher. So it's quite different in this kind of organizations. And these kind of organizations are very democratic because the power, the real power, it's on the core, you know. The power is on the teachers, and all the teachers have the same power. Because teaching is something, the power is because the teachers have this pedagogical and scientific power. They know how they do their job and don't need any kind of supervision. That's why this technostructure, the supervisors, it's so small, so few importance in this kind of organizations. And as you know, even the headmaster, it's not very important in teaching, you know. It's important because they lead the organization, but not important in teaching. Sorry, I use the expression teaching in the wide range, okay? I know, as a kindergarten teacher, we don't teach, okay? Another characteristic, I think it's very, very important, and for us, for APA and for our work, it's very important to understand that it's the profession, all the professionals have a high degree of autonomy. Okay, we can do our job, and we don't need to, no one tell us how to do it, and we can do it the way we want, more or less, of course. But we have a high degree of autonomy, we can do it. So it's very important when we understand this. To me, it was, well, a revolution, because I am connected to the leader of leading organizations, and suddenly, in the 90s, when I read that, well, of course, the power is on the teachers. It's not about me or about the right of the structure. It's really, what matters is really about kindergarten teachers and primary teachers and secondary teachers. So, to the core to my presentation. Okay, we have a starting point in 2016, because in 2016, Portugal, you know, lived a tremendous situation because we have a bankruptcy. We have the intervention of the IMF, so it's hard times for us. And we leave a lot of members in APA. 1/3 of our members at that time leave APA, so it's a huge problem. But it's an internal problem for APA, but we have two other problems. We identified two situations we need to change. One, it's because, you know, the nurseries, the teachers, the kindergarten teachers, the educators who work in nurseries don't have any kind of support, pedagogical support. There is no kind of curriculum guidelines or something similar. So we need to improve the way they work with children, and they have any kind of support. So this is a problem. The other problem, it's because even in kindergartens, even in preschool education, because most of the kindergartens are included in these school clusters, and the school clusters is from the 3 years old until 18 years old, the children and the students. So many times the directors define a kind of professional development with a wide range, not specifically or specific for the kindergarten teachers. And we have also a problem we need to change, we need to solve this problem, or try to solve this problem. So, another problem, and it's a common problem, I suppose, all over worldwide, it's a problem. It's this kind of dichotomy always present between the researchers and the practitioners. It's always. Well, Peter Moss wrote about that, and many researchers wrote about that. It's a problem, always. Because the history shows the results of the network, of the results of the research are only in the research level, at the research level, like East Era, for instance. I think maybe we have here practitioners, 10 persons or 20, I suppose, in more than 1,000. So in the research, the results of the research are always discussed at this level for many reasons, professional reasons, for many reasons. It's not the responsibility for the researchers, it's the way the things are. But on the other hand, the practitioners many times don't understand the results of the research, and many times there is a kind of prejudice, the way they look for the researchers. Oh, they want to teach me how the way I need to work, like the researchers are like this kind of technostructure, like the supervisors. So this kind of prejudice, the theory is one thing and the practice is another one. It's something we need to break. We need to create a kind of interface using the Sarah Araújo words about Utopia. We need to create an interface, create a dialectic between the research and the practitioners. And this is our challenge. So what we try to achieve, what is the main goal for us? It is to create a systemic professional development plan. So, but for all country. Because usually I remember Julia Formosin do it for many years, and I remember Mari in Japan do it the same. I remember recently, because I saw it. Usually we made a kind of supervision and professional development with 2 or 3 or 5 organizations. School organizations or nurseries or whatever. But the problem when we think about a national level, it's quite different because it's impossible to create at national level this kind of intervention in all the schools, all the kindergarten centers. It's completely impossible. It's impossible. Even at political level, I think it's very hard to do it. So we need to create this systemic approach in the entire country, who leaves no one behind. It's very important to us. We can try to achieve to all teachers with the democratic access. It's very, very important. Everyone can participate in these activities we are planning, and no one left behind for instance, financial or economic reasons. And we need to create this dialectic between the researchers and the practitioners, the research and the schools. In the centers, the kindergarten centers or the nurseries. So, what is our strategy? We focus our intervention on the educators in attending the institutions. Of course, we don't leave the institutions alone. Many times they ask to do it specifically, imagine a training plan for a specific institution, but our main goal and our strategy is for all the kindergartens, all the educators in the country. So it's because it's much more easy to operationalize, much more. We have the guarantee who left no one behind. It would be a systemic approach because it's in the whole country, and we need to make these activities accessible, democratic accessible, financial, and other reason, before the pandemic, remember, we need to do everything locally. Now we have the internet and the Zoom and the Teams and so on, so we can communicate. We organize our seminars like that. But before the pandemic, we need to do the things in the specific in the place face-to-face meetings. So we need to diversify our activities. We need to promote these kind of activities all over Portugal, not only in Lisbon. It's one of the problems of APEI in 2016 is because everything is done in Lisbon, not in the rest of the country. And we need, it's very important, we need to involve the researchers in this dynamic. The PhD, the researchers, the professors at the university and the polytechnic institutes and so on. So, the first thing we create in 2016, it was the seminar cycle. It's really a powerful activity, really. I'm really happy when I saw the results of this activity. It's really important. Before the pandemic, we do the seminars. It's seminars like this one, more or less. It's one day, a seminar one day, always in the Saturday, because in Portugal, in the working days, it's very hard to create. It's, you know, the organization, the leaders don't allow the teachers can leave the organizations to have training sessions to their professional development. We need to do it at weekends, usually at Saturday, of course. So it's one day, full one day with a seminar one day. It's very decentralized. We do it in all the districts capital in Portugal. So in one Saturday we are in Lisbon, the next Saturday we are in Oporto, the next one in Viana do Castelo, the next one in Évora, and so on. It's our life in APEI for 3 or 4 years. Not now, but for 3 or 4 years. It's very low prices. We need to create this kind of democratic access, even from the financial point of view. You know, 15 euros to participate in these seminars. It's a very, very low price in Portugal. We have 5 presentations that day, and these presentations, it's mandatory. We need to have always researchers and practitioners. We cannot organize any seminar without these 2 kinds of professionals. And we create 2 different types of seminars. One directed, organized, addressed to nursery teachers who work with children under 3, and the other one for kindergarten teachers who work in the preschool education. So this is the layout of the posters of our cycles, of our seminars. And we call to the seminars, these seminars, it's what writing is more or less is being baby seminars. The first one we promoted many years ago, but we working on these seminars many times. It's only 2002, the first one, and then only in 2005 there's the second one. And since 2016, it's several at year. So this is the Being Baby seminars, and we have another one. It's addressed for the preschool education. We call it web conference now because we are after the pandemic. We can do it online, so it's the web conferences. And you can saw, for instance, the way we organize these days. This now it's online, this one. It was the recent, we have involved in these seminars 1,200 kindergarten teachers, so it's a huge number in Portugal because we have only 16,000, you know. So each day it's around subject. On this first day it's around Pickler approach with 2 researchers. Dalila was here in this seminar, and Maria da Purificação, and then we have also a practitioner. And all days are organized like this. The second day in March, always a Saturday. It's about heuristic play with Paulo Focchi. Many of you know very well Paulo Focchi, the Brazilian researcher, friend of mine, and also 2 practitioners. You know, one from Brazil and another one from Portugal. In the third day, we have the Japanese experience because last October, a group of members of APEI, we visit for 18 days several kindergarten seasons, several nurseries in Japan. It was an amazing experience, I must tell you, really amazing. So at that time, we all, in my mind, I think, well, we need to have a day only for nurseries in Japan to tell this kind of experience, share this kind of experience. So we have the Mari, who was here in the seminar, Mari, a researcher, and then two group of teachers, educators who share the way they work with the children in nurseries in Japan. And then another day about learning and development with two researchers, Ana Coelho and Joana Schelling, and two practitioners. And the last, Wendy Lee, it's here in the seminar also, Wendy Lee from New Zealand, and Lauren Sandy is also here, and another researcher from Gloria Quinones from Australia. So we create this kind of, dynamic, this kind of dialectic always present in the seminars. It's very, very important, even for the researchers. Many researchers understand better this kind of, we know, usually we use the word in Portugal, it's professional knowledge. It's different than research knowledge, okay? So this is a seminar cycle for kindergartens, for educators who work in preschool education. It's the same. João Formosinho, oh, sorry. Okay. Okay, sorry. João Formosinho, it was the first one. Many times we connect, I'm talk a little bit about that. Many times we invite the researchers. At the same time, we publish the books in Portuguese. You find many books in our stand outside. It's books from researchers. Many of them are very recent. In this day, we have a day around art in childhood and pedagogical documentation, and João Formosinho. And then another researcher, Mónica Oliveira. These two are authors of books we are selling in our stand. We sell it through APEI, and we have also always a practitioner, Silvia Bereni and Rita Brandão. In 27th of May, the same, Eva, who are also in the ICERA conference, and Patty Borncelli also. We involve these two researchers, and then always a practitioner, Fatima Areste, who are also, because Fatima Areste is a member of APEI, of the board of APEI. And so on. It's always like this. All the seminars included all days, a researcher and practitioners. It's very, very powerful. Hélène Loiseau, sorry, it's in French. Hélène Loiseau, like as a researcher, and then more practitioners. And the same with Japan, with Mikiko Tabu from Tokyo, and then several practitioners from Japan. So it's very, very powerful. And to give you an idea of the number of persons, I was impressed because I never collected this data before. So when I collected this data, I said, well, amazing. So we involved in the last 7 years, 114 researchers. It's a huge number. Most of them, of course, are Portuguese researchers. And we have international researchers, I think it's 33 in 7 years. It's really powerful. And we promote around 19 seminars in these 7 years. So it's an average of 13 seminars a year. It's, it's a huge number. In my perspective, I think it's a huge number. Many of them, you know it, is in Portugal. Many of them are here in the ICERA conference, and of course in the international also. So it's very, very powerful. The second activity we promote, we have, to talk about this is very important. This kind of network between researchers and the practitioners, it was very, very, very important at some point in 2020, because in 2020, the nurseries, it was the first organizations who reopened in the middle of the pandemic situation. So we have a terrible problem, because at that time, there is a press conference promoted by the Minister of Health and the Minister of Labor, and they define a set of rules terrible for children. Terrible, really terrible. The children cannot use the same toys. The children cannot, we're talking about children under 3, cannot share the same toys. They need to sit back to back. They cannot play with with each other. So it's really, really terrible. And we became very worried. This was a Friday. So on this press conference, it was Friday. In Sunday, we sent a kind of document for the newspapers and the televisions and so on. It was really, I was impressed at that time because suddenly our manifesto, it was in everywhere, in televisions, in newspapers, and all over. And we used a huge pressure for the Minister of Labor and the Minister of Health. But at the same time, we connect all the researchers, not all the researchers, but around 40, I have the number, 48 researchers and practitioners who are directly connected to APA. I think around 40 researchers and 8 kindergarten teachers who are connected to APA. And in 3 days, we produce an amazing document, and we have the participation by Facebook and to the social network with more than 300 kindergarten teachers or educators who work with children. So we produce in 3 days a beautiful document with this kind of collaborative process. It was extremely important. I think Sarah wrote a paper about that experience in concrete. And it was an intense job, and we changed. They use it, you know. The Ministry of Labor and the Ministry of Health use this document to produce this document, the title in Portuguese and in English, Contribution to Ensuring Pedagogical Quality in Nurseries. It was very important, and the Ministry of Labor we promote a webinar for the nurseries teachers, and it's very, very important. It's one example of the importance of this kind of network between practitioners and researchers. Well, we have another dimension to work. It's the professional, teacher professional development about specific training actions, because the seminar cycle is also professional development, of course. But this is the most usual, you know, the courses, these types of courses. I think we use the word, the small training sessions we do with a training teacher and the professionals, the educators who work with children. And in Portugal, this kind of training is compulsory in the public schools. So in each 4 years, all the teachers, it doesn't matter if a kindergarten teacher or secondary teacher, need to have 50 hours of this kind of training, and the training must be connected to the profession. If a kindergarten teacher must have 50 hours in training in specific preschool education or nursery education. These kind of trainings sessions, you can say, must be accredited by this council, this scientific council. It's needed. And the centers who promote this kind of training is also need to be accredited by this scientific council. Of course, APA have one of these centers since 1992, I suppose, or 1993. And this kind of training sessions, we can say, I don't know how we say it in the other way, it's very credible because we have this kind of stamp or seal by the scientific council. So it's very, everyone try to find this kind of actions. And of course, we need to create, it's very important at that time, in 2016, we needed to create a wide range of options because the professionals work in several different situations. You know, many of them who are in the public schools are women like me, or with my age, you know, 50 and 60s. So we are old in Portugal. But many of them who work in nurseries, it's very young, and okay, we need to create a wide range of options. So that's why in the beginning, you know, there is North, Central, Lisbon, Alentejo, Algarve, it's the regions we promote the training sessions because we need to decentralize this kind of action. Must be to have a democratic access from the point of view. We need to do it near where the teachers live. And now it's almost everything online. We try to change a little bit because we try to move, because this kind of training session, it's very important to be face-to-face for the reasons you know. But to give you an idea of the extension of this intervention, it was huge also because in 7 years we promote more than 1,000 actions, many of them face-to-face, and after the pandemic, even during the pandemic, it was very, very important. One of the reasons in Mitzberg, because in 1 month we change everything we do in APA, and we have this kind of decision, plastic decisions, because the context changed quickly, and it changed. It was a huge change. So we need to, everything we do face to face, we need to do it online. It was for us an amazing period, because we grew up a lot at that time. So, we reached for more than 25,000 participants. So, of course, many of them are the same person, because we only have 16,000 kindergarten educators in Portugal. And this is the areas or the subject who are in the training sessions. So many of them is about the STEAM or play or about curriculum guidelines, because we have the second curriculum guidelines in 2016, so it's something that's very present in the in preschool education, and or about literacy and so on, and less about coaching or mindfulness or specific pedagogical models or approaches or whatever. So these trainings are designed to be financially accessible, because each year we promote around 150 training actions, and they pay only €1.50 per hour. So it's very, very cheap. So if they have a training for, imagine, 10 hours, they pay €15. So it's very, very cheap in Portugal. And it's the reason we do it, because we need to have a democratic understanding, you know. So many of them also are we involve in this training. Many of, no, not the majority, but many of them are PhD, are researchers who like to work directly with the kindergarten, with the educators. So I'm just beginning, just ending, sorry. We have the only printed magazine about childhood education in Portugal. It's, we created this magazine in 1987, so it's, well, very old. And right now we reach around 5,000 professionals. This is the cover of the, This is the cover of the last number. Mikiko, this is one, and Mari. It's about Japan, our visit to Japan, because we have several articles, many articles from Japan, from researchers and from practitioners. It's a thematic issue. And we celebrate the 480 years of friendship between Japan and Portugal. This is also a cover from our special issue when we celebrate 40 years in the APA. And this is a special issue about children's rights. And we have, you know, beautiful covers. And we try to improve the graphic design in the magazines, because the magazines, this is a professional magazine. It's not for researchers, it's for practitioners. It's very important, because the practitioners, we want the practitioners read the researchers, the result of the researchers, we need to have a magazine addressed to him, to us, to the professionals, not a scientific magazine, because almost no one, no teacher, no educator read a scientific article, almost no one. So we need to create a dynamic, a beautiful magazine, and when they read the magazine, usually the first article, it's written by a researchers, usually. And we use the main pages, the central pages, always to a practitioner, to share the way the things this practitioner in concrete work, the way they work with children. This is usually, we use the central page to a beautiful photo like this one, or this one. From my experience, I think in Norway, one of the teachers who have traveled to Norway and visit several centers in Norway, and this amazing photograph. So we use this kind of images in central pages, and the central pages are always an article about practitioners. So, and all these magazines, our magazine, it's offered to all the universities and the Polytechnic Institute in Portugal. It's very important because the teachers who work at the University or Polytechnic Institute use the magazine many times with their students in the initial training, so it's very, very important to us. At the end, because in the last years we have, let me see the words in English because I don't know, we have a significant net income for the fiscal year. You know, at the end we have a lot of profits because we grow up a lot. So we have more money. We have around, in the last 3 years, we have the profits, it's around, let me see, 126,000 euros. So we have money to invest, and we don't keep the money in the bank. The money is for invest. So we need to, is that the reason we are a non-profit institution, because we need to give back to our memberships and in general, the educators in general, this profit. So, and because Portugal, you know, is a very small market from the point of view of books, publishing books, and the publishers, the major publishers, because we are a small market, don't invest in books on early childhood education, so there is a kind of gap here in Portugal. So we occupy this gap, this blank space, and we create an editorial line. I show you the books in English, but all the books are in Portuguese. This is the original version. For instance, David Sobel, or The Loose Part for Miriam Beloglovsky, who are here in this Congress. Or, for instance, Vicky Carpar Bartolini, or the book I told you with João Formosinho, Ian Peters, and, the other one from Gloria Quinones. So we published this book in Portuguese, at very low prices, of course, because, I usually said we spend money publishing books because we have any profit with selling books. Never. I think never we have it. So, just finish. What we try, it's offer a wide range of activities and training opportunities to all the educators in Portugal. We try to assess, to every educator has access to the knowledge, it's very important. And the principle of no teacher left behind, we are working on the democratic access. And in sum, our approach to the professional development in early childhood education and care is a testament to our commitment to equity and inclusivity. And when we democratizing the access to knowledge and to a kind of, we say it, holistic intervention about the seminars, with the training session, with the magazine and with the editorial line, creating this kind of dialectic between the researchers and the practitioners, we aim to empower the educators and elevate the quality of early childhood at national level. So, thank you for your time.